Hello, Melissa from Kiwi Banana here, and today I wanted to talk about Burning Man and what are things that you cannot bring to Burning Man. What sort of things are generally banned from Burning Man? Because some of these things may surprise you, and of course some of these things may not. First thing I want to get into is those real high impact things called explosives. You cannot take explosives to Burning Man, and I don't think I really need to dive too much further into explaining why those sort of things are banned at Burning Man now today. Next thing I want to talk about is firearms. Now, some of these things I'm telling you were actually allowed at one point in Burning Man, possibly, and firearms was one of them. However, they made that change quite early on within the community that it was no longer a good idea to allow people to bring firearms to the city, to the event, and I don't think I need to dive too much further into the reasons why not. Reasons as to why they banned that. Another one is lasers. So handheld lasers, more in particular, they do not like people bringing handheld lasers, and there would be various reasons as to the reason why they don't allow that. I think a lot of it's possibly got to do with affecting people's visibility, and there is actually an airport there. You wouldn't want to be shining lasers and things into someone who's flying a plane trying to land or take off there. It could definitely cause an accident, and you don't want to be shining that sort of stuff into someone else who's maybe driving a registered vehicle out there. And there's a few other reasons why not. And the next thing I want to talk about is MOOP. And that stands for matter out of place. And I'm just going to give a few examples of what MOOP is. So things like wood chips, glitter, hay, just those really little things that, yeah, maybe you want to bring there, but it's probably best not to, because it's very easy for them to get scattered everywhere and it's very hard to pick up. Everything that you take there, you're supposed to bring it out with you, with the exception of your human waste, as long as you're doing that in a porta potty. Next I want to talk about is unregistered vehicles. They cannot be there. To even park your car within within the city, you even need a permit for that as well. So to be able to even drive in and just park your car and have it sitting there for the whole week, you still need to have it, you still need to pay to have that vehicle there. And then also, if you were going to drive an art car, mutant vehicle, whatever you like to call it, you also have to register that vehicle as one of those, and there's a lot of rules around that, and that is for safety reasons because of accidents in the past, and it just makes good sense to do that when you've got a community that's become so big now. So the next thing I want to talk about is maybe obvious, maybe not, and that is plants, dead or alive, are not allowed. However, I'm assuming that they do not include things like food. I don't think they would ban you from bringing a bunch of bananas in, but if you were going to bring in some sort of plants that you would pot in a pot plant, or I guess pot plant, they don't want that there. I'm not 100% sure why. I'm making the assumption it's something to do with maybe it's bringing in more exposure of plants that aren't in that area, or whether that could have some sort of effect, and maybe those plants might carry insects and stuff like that. I'm not so sure, but also it's just, I guess it can come back to MOOP. It can easily become MOOP. Another thing I want to talk about is animals, and yes, I know many of you may have got lovely dogs. Maybe people even take their cats places. I don't know. Who knows? They do not want those animals there. They were not there before, and they don't want them there during the event either. And I guess it comes down to, it's very, maybe it may differ for if you have a pet at home, and maybe you're very good at controlling its waste and everything like that. But I am assuming that the number one reason why animals are not allowed there is because of them mooping all over the place, I guess. So moving on from that, and more to do with MOOP that may come out of your body, do not excrete on the playa or anywhere really, unless it's in a bucket or in a porta potty. So that includes, like pooping and peeing. And I mean, I know depending on, maybe you're ill, maybe you get something when you're there, maybe you've had too much to drink. A little side note, maybe limit your alcohol intake if you're going to get to that point. Moving on from that. Vomit can be hard, obviously, to avoid, and maybe you don't make it or whatever, but don't consciously just piss on the ground, is what I'm trying to get at. Go to the porta potty, or if you can't be bothered going there, bring yourself a bucket or something to excrete that waste into. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is, please don't bring swimming pools. I don't know necessarily if it's banned, but it's not usually a good thing to take, because water can end up everywhere. They're a bit of a mess, and it's really hard to sort of contain everything inside the pool and not let it out onto the ground. So if you're thinking about bringing a pool, maybe think twice about it. The next thing I want to bring up is smokers, and you're not banned, but the ash that can come from your cigarettes. So if you're going to be smoking out there, they recommend maybe bringing like a little tin or something that you can always put your ash in, because ash can easily become moop, and it can still have an effect on the environment there. And it's something that can be reasonably easily avoided if you just take something with you to put your ash in. And it doesn't have to be big. I've heard of like little mint tins or something like that, very small compact things. When you're having a cigarette, you can, and there's ash coming off, just flick it into the air, and that maybe put it in a big container when you get back to your camp, and you must take it out with you. Right, the next thing I want to talk about is no more than 1-ply toilet paper in the porta potties, and this is to do with them having to get them cleaned every day, and I guess it just makes it a lot easier to suck all the waste out a lot quicker out of all the porta potties if everyone is using 1-ply toilet paper in the porta potties. And the next one I want to talk about is taking photos, or and or recording videos, and especially if it's a group of people or a person, you're really supposed to get permission from them if before you film them, take photo of them or anything like that. And it's not like it's almost pretty much prohibited. It's almost like it's not just being, I guess it's not really being a very courteous person, and you're just not being very conscious of what the other person is feeling. Maybe they don't want to be filmed, maybe for various reasons, and you just got to respect that. So if you do want to capture something, and there's a person or a group of people that are very prevalent within that shot, then you may want to just go over and ask them, hey, look, is that alright if I if I take a photo or I capture a film, and if they say no, then go take a picture of something else. Right, so that's the end of some of the things that I want to talk about that are banned or at least frowned upon at Burning Man. So I'll be doing some more topical videos on Burning Man soon. If you have anything in particular that you want to request for me to talk about, just let me know. No problem whatsoever. Just flick that in the comment section down below, or even flick me an email if you want, or contact me through my various other social media platforms that are in the description box down below. I hope you've done something that makes you happy today, and I will see you again soon.